And get started here. As always, looking back to this past week's game against Penn State, obviously just disappointing in the way that we finished. Thought there were we continue to get better and better as a football team, and certainly as a defense. I thought first and second down, that was probably the most consistent, the most physical, in terms of our execution that we've played probably all season long. At times I thought we were dominant on first and second down, continue to put them behind the chains and force them to kind of get out of their comfort zone, and some of the things that we did. Where I thought we felt short was something that we have done well all season long, which was executing on third downs and winning one-on-one matchups. We just did not win enough, and I thought the quarterback hurt us more with his feet than he did, obviously, with his arm. I think they were 11 of 23. I think that's the fifth game out of the last 6 that we've held a team under 50% completion percentage. You continue to do that, you're going to be in really good shape. Obviously, we just came up short, and I think the third downs, they were 7 of 14. Obviously, we've been holding teams to, I think we've been 70% or better, or however you want to look at that. They've been 30% or less for most of the season, and we just didn't get off the field at some critical third downs, not just a 3rd and 1 to 2, but some third and longer situations that, to me, was the difference in the football game. Thought, we made them earn it at times, even the last drive of the game. You don't want to give up a big play for a touchdown. You don't want to give up an 18-play drive either, but our guys fought all the way down, and we had our opportunities. I do give them credit. They made more plays than we did in that final drive, but our players need to experience those things. They need to see what it feels like to go into a big environment when you get somebody's best shot, and we did. I thought they came out strong. They were pissed off, from the game that they had against Minnesota, and we got their best effort and got their best shot. And I thought we handled it really well. At times, we just did not execute well enough in some of the critical situations. So, that being said, looking on to Michigan, certainly an exciting opportunity for us to have a team like this come and play at home again. I've gone against Shea Patterson now. When I was the defense coordinator at South Alabama, we went up there and played Ole Miss, and then, of course, last season and this season, and my dad was the defensive coordinator when he was at Ole Miss, and so I've kind of known about him for a long time and think very highly of him and the way that he plays the game. Certainly, I was a much bigger fan when he was playing with my dad at Ole Miss. Now he just seems to be a pain in the tail, but he's just a very talented football player. He's very gifted. He can make all the throws. He can extend plays and drives with his feet. I think that what they have done and evolved to offensively certainly meshes well with his skill set, and I think they've taken advantage of their quarterback and their outside skill. They have a stable of tight ends. We talk about a stable of running backs, but they've got a stable of tight ends. I think they're really talented. They're big bodies, long bodies. They do a good job of getting them involved in the passing game some. And then I think the receiving core, in terms of their talent, is just, they're big, long-bodied dudes that can go up and get it. And I think as the season has gone on, you have seen they have just steadily climbed and improved in terms of their offensive production. I think early on in the season, for whatever reason, they just more inconsistent in what they were doing offensively. But as you watch them through the season, they have gotten better and better, and I think they're playing their best football right now. So it'll be a great challenge for us, but I think that we are up to it. I think, if you look at us defensively and as a team, we have gotten better and better as the season goes on, and that's really all you can ask for when you play in these big games at the end of a season. Questions?
You kind of touched on the mobility aspect that Shea Patterson brings, but
Yeah.
for you guys, what has to be the key for containment to work better this week than it did against Sean Clifford last week?
Well, I think for us, I'll tell you the thing that we did not do well enough is we didn't win enough one-on-one matchups when we brought pressure. And at times, I think we've done some great things in terms of the pressures that we've built, and we've gotten people free. But at other times, we're not going to get somebody free, and we're going to have 6 one-on-one matchups, and we got to win one of those 6 matchups and create pressure on the quarterback. I do think, and this is not a discredit to Shea, but he's like most quarterbacks. If you can pressure him, not even necessarily hit him, but if you can pressure him and get him moved off of his space, I do think his accuracy goes down. The thing that he does, though, is you have to be careful of where you push him because he can extend plays and drives outside of the pocket. So for us, it is a complement of pressure and yet still keeping him hemmed in. He's not 6'4", he's a little bit on the shorter side. So, getting in his vision and keeping him out of some throwing lanes is something that's got to be very important to what we do schematically. And certainly I've been facing him long enough now that, we kind of know what works and what doesn't.
In that vein, what's similar, what's different maybe about talking about the way Sean Clifford can get mobile and get downfield with his feet, and the way that Michigan will try to use kind of Shea Patterson's mobility.
Yeah.
Maybe as both guys that can run probably would rather pass first in a lot of situations, but when they break the pocket, can hurt you with their legs.
It's interesting that you bring that up because I think Shea, watching his growth and development over the years from his freshman and sophomore year at Ole Miss, where he was a quarterback that sometimes got a little bit antsy, and he knew that in high school, all that stuff, he could extend plays and extend drives, and he was kind of Johnny Manziel-like in terms of the way he extended stuff, and so he would get out of the pocket a whole lot more early in his career. I think they have done a good job of developing him into becoming a more complete pocket passer. You can tell that the emphasis have been for him to stay in the pocket, keep his eyes downfield. I do think one of the best things that, him and Johnny Manziel are probably the two best players that I've faced in terms of when they escape the pocket, they keep their eyes downfield, and that's exactly what he reminded me of when playing him, even when we were at South Alabama. He does a great job of keeping his eyes downfield, always looking to extend drives to throw the ball, not to scramble and rush. Whereas Sean Clifford, I guess, in terms of comparison, you knew when he pulled the ball down, he was going to go and try to get vertical instead of extend plays whenever he pushed out laterally. And that's really what got us is 3rd-9 situation, 3rd-and-7 situation. He stuck his foot in the ground. He's not looking to scramble to get somebody open. He's looking to go. We just didn't execute well enough.
Coach Allen mentioned that C.J. Person was in there for that 4th and 1.
Yeah.
Can you, first of all, what could you have done better on that 4th and 1, and then talk about the confidence in having C.J. in there despite his lack of time.
Which 4th and 1 are you referring to?
Maybe the last one, I guess.
Okay, the last one, yeah. What we did not do, I guess, to answer your last question, in terms of the 4th and 1, I thought they caved us in a little too far to I guess the left side of our defense, and we shifted to a bear front, which is good. You want to be in a bear front. It's basically 5 linemen up. We just shift a linebacker down, and it causes them to push everything back out a single gap more, which is, you don't want them to get vertical on a 4th and 1 situation. If you create too much lateral movement, they can just stick their foot in the ground and get vertical on you. So you want to try to create vertical push, but you also want to push the ball outside the C gaps, And so what we didn't do is when the tight end blocked down, we tried to overplay it. We got washed and then turned inside where there was a vertical seam in the C gap, and then we got pushed a little too far in our B gap right there, and they just, all it takes is a couple inches right there. And then, sorry to answer your question about C.J. Person, it just, I think it's a great reminder for our team, in one, how we utilize this 4-game rule with guys that are, that we don't want to play any more than that, that when you travel and you're one of those guys, one of those bodies, you better be ready at any given point in a game. Now, this was certainly an extreme version of that, when it's 4th and 1 to win the game against Penn State on the road, but it's a great reminder for everybody that walks out on that field, or everybody that gets on the bus or the airplane, that you got to be ready to roll.
Coach, with Clifford completing fewer than 50% of his passes, I know a lot of that came from aggressive pass rushes and him having to throw quick, but tell us a little bit about what you thought the secondary did in regards to coverage there, because it seemed like they were having guys blanketed pretty well and nobody caught more than 2 passes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think, tremendous job. Brandon Shelby and Casey Teagarden, they continue to impress in the way that they play their players. I mean, they challenge them every single week. We challenge them schematically because we put them in a ton of one-on-one matchups, and we're not bashful about it. I think everybody knows when you play us right now, you're going to have to win on the outside. And if you can do that, I think you can be successful, but rarely has that been accomplished this season. And certainly as we've moved forward in the back half of the season, I thought we've become even more aggressive. Like I said, in the last few games here, I think, 5 of 6 games holding teams under 50%. So I think that's a credit to our players and back-end coaches. For us, I just think that, what we have to do is when we do challenge and play aggressive coverage, you got to either win one-on-one up front or blitzers that we bring. And then certainly you got to do a good job when the quarterback does scramble. We got to find a way to get him on the ground. And we didn't execute that part of our scheme that we know is coming. We've been doing it for 5 or 6 weeks now, but we just didn't execute well enough.
James Head, how do you see him continuing to grow and develop as a pass rusher, and how do you view, the play he made in that Penn State game in terms of him developing his confidence a little?
Well, that was one of the few plays that we had where we won a one-on-one matchup, and I thought their left tackle is a very good player. He's a young player, 53. His name's escaping me right now, but James, it was 2nd and 8, and we played man free off of it. Knew that they were getting to it was a passing situation for them, and we recognized the formation, and so we got ourselves in the right coverage. They tried to run a switch vertical route on us that is always challenging to play against, and our guys did a nice job on the back end. So the quarterback had to come to off of his first 2 reads. By the time he went to his 3rd read, James was there, but I thought James just beat the guy clean. He did a nice job of threatening him vertically, had a nice move off the edge, and then to finish with one of the moves that we work in our takeaway circuit every single day, which is the swim pattern to basically finish across his deal. He executed it to perfection, but we need more of those plays, and I thought that was exciting to see him do that.
Khalil Bryant has had 10 tackle performances through his last 3 games. I know hearing he's a very sure tackler, but why has he been so productive in the last few weeks?
Well, he trusts our process. He trusts our system and what we're doing. He's experienced. He takes the time to watch film. He listens to his coaches in terms of the development. I thought, I'm going to use him as a comparison in terms of here's a guy that he's not the most talented player on the field, certainly, but he knows where the ball's going to go. He trusts his technique. He listens to what we ask him to do specifically every single game, and then he anticipates and make plays. And so the game for us in that game where things broke down and what we're really stressing to our players is when you get yourself in position to where you don't trust the technique that you play with. Our execution was actually pretty good in the game across the board, but the technique that you execute with, you have to trust that when it matters most. Khalil Bryant is doing that, and that's, to me, why he's our most productive player, even though he's not our most talented player. I think the world of Khalil and what he's doing right now is phenomenal. Thank you, guys.